And we have some good stuff for you on today's e-commerce mastermind. Should you start your own online store or use Amazon or eBay? And if you're going to create your own store, how do you do it? And what about taking credit cards? There is a difference from in-store and online. You will hear from Chamber member Mark Bandy of Integrity Merchant Partners. Hi, everybody. John Daly here with Chris Crockett of Sellworthy, an online digital and marketing company, which is making this live stream happen. We are joined by Jessica Gallant, the Chamber's membership director. She also has her own e-commerce business as well. So things are beginning to open up around the county, but we still see some folks a bit concerned. So many businesses will still look at e-commerce and digital solutions. And Jess, that actually makes a lot of sense. Give us your thoughts of what's happening.
Yes, we are very excited, first off, that we are in phase one in Brunswick County. But there are a lot of places around the country that are still not opened. As well as people that live in remote areas. And for those people, the best option is to do an e-commerce store. You are going to see a lot more people, probably in these next 10 years, you're going to see more and more people creating online stores. And one of the things I always like to think about is our supply and demand. So when people are sitting at home and they can't get out, they are the normal things that they buy, whether it be clothes, whether it be food, vitamins, and books. I mean, you can kind of go from one side to the other. People are looking for these things. If they're sitting at home, they can't buy them. In California, a few years back, there was a lawsuit on Twizzlers, and people could not buy Twizzlers. And so that dollar package that you could buy at the dollar store or Walmart was selling for $100. And so that's kind of to show you that supply and demand. If you think about, I know you think that's crazy that people are paying $100, but that's their favorite food, I guess. that may be why.
Well, it's kind of like we had in Prohibition. I mean, once they stopped liquor, then the price went through the roof as well. Chris, I think you'll kind of echo what Jess is saying. You would encourage people, no matter what happens, to really start thinking about online, right?
100%. You should be online no matter what. So if you're not online and you haven't gone online during this, you're not future-proofing your business. I mean, that's probably a really bad business decision not to go online at this point. And the reason for that is not only just because everybody now is looking to get stuff from online, but our whole ecosystem is converting to an online system, right? That's why Amazon has succeeded so much, and stores like Sears and tons of others have gone out of business, and more. And now after this, we're going to see obviously some bigger big box stores go out of business. So if you're a business, small, big, medium, anywhere in between, and you're not going online, you're not building your business for the future. And it's just a hard fact, and there's no way around it. It's what you have to do to survive in this day and age.
So Chris kind of gave us a good segue there, Jess. So the question is, do I create my own online store, or do I use eBay and Amazon that already has it set up? With your experience, what are the questions owners should really be asking themselves about that?
I was thinking about this and what the best questions. I think there's really three to segue kind of into that. What are you selling? How are you going to ship it or deliver it? And who your target audience is. So kind of a quick run through. For instance, if you're a bookstore, you want to sell on Amazon. Amazon has, they are the ones to get books from, textbooks, self-help books, any type of book. You can pretty well find it on Amazon. If you are furniture store, you're probably not going to want to ship it. So that may be where you're wanting to do local pickup or delivery. And who's your target audience? If it's locals, if it's people that follow you already, you have a Facebook following, or you're and then on the flip side, if you want new clients. So somebody like that, if you have a Facebook following, or you have a following, within your store, you've been open for a long time, you may want to do a full e-commerce site. And I think really you kind of have to ask yourself those questions and then do the process of elimination. And you might also have to try it and see what works for you. I've been doing eBay and Amazon long enough to know that not everything works for everybody. And so anytime you're going to sell something, you may find something and it may work really well for you. And then the next person finds that same item and it may not work well for them at all. So you really need to ask yourself, how are you going to sell it? Like, what are you selling? How are you going to ship it and deliver it? And then who your target audience is.
Okay. You mentioned about local businesses. A member of the chamber, the Brunswick Senior Resources, they're actually creating their own thrift store. Talk about why that should work for them. So
they do have 2 thrift stores right now, Brunswick Senior Resources. They have one in Calabash and one in Charlotte. And their Charlotte one is fairly new. When you think about the people like myself, I'm considered a thrifter. I love to go into thrift stores and thrift and see what I can find. And there's a lot of people, especially in our community, that like to do that. So what they've done, because obviously they're not able to open, is they've created a thrift store online. You can order it online, pay for it, and then get it delivered. And I'm assuming local pickup as well. And that can be found at bsrincthrift.org. And so if anybody wants to go thrift store shopping, you can actually go online and do that. And that's a great opportunity for the thrift store because, for one, they're not having to do it on eBay and Amazon and not getting those fees taken out because they do have a following.
So people know them, so it's going to be easy for people just to go into the store or call on the store. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And people can contact you to get more insight and information on things like this. How do they do that?
They can contact me directly through the chamber. My email is jgallant@brunswickcountychamber.org, or they can give me a call at the chamber, 910-754-6644.
All right, very good. So, Chris, how difficult is it for someone to build their own online store?
So, it's a good question. And it's based off 2 things, right? The first would be how familiar you are with working with web development tools and platforms. So if you're comfortable using WordPress, Shopify, any of the similar systems, you might not have a terrible time. It still probably will take you a couple weeks to a month to really build out a decent store. Now, if you're not comfortable with those, I wouldn't even give it a shot. The other factor that goes into this is a complexity of what you're selling. So if you're selling something that has no variations, that maybe it's 10 products still, and you are comfortable building or working with these platforms, then I would say give it a go. If you aren't comfortable with the platform, or you are comfortable with them and there's complexity to the products that you're selling or services that you're selling, I would not give it a shot, because then there's a lot of variations involved, a lot of different elements that can really make it a nightmare, or you could get 90% of the way and then something doesn't end up working out. So you leave it to the expert in that case.
So are there clients that you would say, don't you do this at all? You should stay away from that?
Well, I mean, in the end of the day, as a business owner, I give the advice of, if you own a business and your business is not a web development company, then you probably shouldn't be making websites anyways, because you want to focus on running your business and what you do. So any successful business owner is going to know right out of the box to let someone else handle that, unless they have, with everything going on, a ton of free time to be messing around with this. So for 98% of business owners out there, they really should be hiring an agency or even an individual who specializes in building websites, because they're going to do it a lot more effectively, a lot quicker. It's just going to be a better overall process.
Okay. And so just real quickly, if somebody's interested in talking to you about this, what's the best way to reach you?
Sellworthy.com, Sellworthy with 1 L. My email address is kmc@sellworthy.com, or call text 910-600-6181.
All right. And, another big question for businesses is how credit cards now work in this new pandemic age. We talked to one of our chamber members who had some insight. Joining us now is Mark Bandy with Integrity Merchant Partners. Mark, welcome. Now, more people are turning to e-commerce, which means more and different credit card use. What do they need to think about?
Well, in the credit card industry, everything evolves around risk. So anytime you're doing e-commerce, the card is not present. So you got MasterCard and Visa. What they do is with the different card types, it's a little different online. So the risk is a little higher, so the cost is a little higher. So one of the main things is if you're doing e-commerce, you want to make sure that you're set up properly. And that's one of the things that we do as a company, whether it's online or retail store, we always make sure that you're set up properly with the type of business that you are.
And there is a difference with in-store or online charges. Explain some of the effects of that.
Well, the different costs, there's basically different costs for different card types. And an analogy that you can kind of use is a retail store. So if you walk into a retail store, they have different types of items. All of them cost different prices. And that's kind of the way it is with the credit card industry. You have MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express. You have rewards card, business cards, there's so many different types of cards. And that's why when people get their credit card statement, a lot of times it looks, they really don't understand all of those different charges. And that's why we always do, when we're working with somebody, we do a cost analysis. Because there is different ways a merchant should be set up, whether it's a small ticket merchant, a large ticket merchant, all of those things, go into the process. So again, just like online, the in-store, you need to make sure that you're set up properly.
Now, Mark, you make it really easy for someone to integrate both through a website, an e-commerce website, with your merchant providing system, just as much as you make it easy to do an in-store retail setup as well, correct?
Exactly. We got merchants that have an online e-commerce site, and they also have a merchant account for their in-store. It's like, and we can basically integrate it with the same merchant ID number.
So this way they don't have to have two different systems for, if it's a shop locally here, right? And let's say they need to have the same platform for both. You make it very easy so they don't have to worry about having two different merchant providers, one for the in-store retail experiences and one for the e-commerce website. So they're able to track everything in one platform, more or less, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Integrity Merchant Partners, we've been in business for 20 years. And over that period of time, we've brought people on board with us like Jamie Walters. He's our chief operating officer. He's very qualified. He's been in the industry probably close to as many years as we have. And one thing about, we have different e-commerce offerings. For example, we have an e-commerce that where you can literally invoice someone for the product, and they can enter their own charge card number and that type of thing. It'll also do reoccurring billing if you need that. So we have learned over the 20-year period, what we try to do is, number one, we try to be a partner with that merchant. We try to operate on an integrity level, and we try to sell them on a needs basis rather than just throwing something together and saying, here you go.
And thus your name, Integrity Merchant Partners. That's right.
Absolutely.
Real briefly, because of the new credit card technology with the chip in there, is there some dangers for stores if they don't upgrade to the proper chip reader?
Yes. Probably, I'm going to say around 5 years ago, the industry started merging over to the chip card. Again, like I was saying earlier, everything evolves in this industry around risk. So overseas, Japan, places like that, they started using the chip in cards before we did because they were showing that it cut down about 70% of fraud. So gradually over the last 3 to 5 years, the industry has been merging over to this chip card process. And now you've got banks that issue cards that are chip processing cards. So if you swipe that card rather than using a chip swiper or insert, however it's set up, that bank can charge you back. And we've seen it happen. I've seen back in West Virginia, a merchant ran a card for $400 and some, and instead of using a chip processor, he swiped it, and the bank charged him back for that transaction.
Wow. So you mentioned this earlier, but talk about this quickly again. You can literally come into any business and you can actually offer them a risk assessment so they know exactly what it is, because this is just so darn complicated.
Yes, that's one of the things we offer. Number one, we can do a free risk assessment. We can do a free cost analysis. So whether you use us as your processor or not, we offer that service, because it can be, again, very risky if you're not set up right. And it can also be very costly if you're not set up properly.
Now, Mark, it's worth anyone taking advantage of that. It takes very little time, right, for them to come in and for you to come in and have a look over of everything. And a lot of times you'll find issues or cost savings or just be able to help them out all around. So it's probably be stupid for someone in the local area to really not take advantage of that right now.
Yeah, because one of the things we haven't mentioned on here is PCI compliance. There's companies out there literally costing or charging merchants astronomical fees, even if they are qualified. I've seen merchants being charged $25 to $30 a month for just being compliant. If they're non-compliant, that cost is even higher, and then they'll charge them again at the end of the year for a compliance fee. And that's one of the things we pride ourselves in, is we can eliminate a lot of those fees or we can drastically reduce them. But to answer your question, yes, we can do that in a matter of minutes.
Great.
Explain what PCI means.
Really, to be honest with you, John, it's one of those type of things, I'm going to say probably 8-9 years ago, or maybe even 10, probably closer to 10 years ago, the industry came out with this thing, PCI compliance. And for a long time, we tried to get answers from the companies and the powers that be what this was. But it's really a complicated explanation. It's basically the credit card companies saying you have to be in compliance with MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express. And the crazy part about it is it's such a wide spectrum of what companies charge. I mean, it could be $5 a month, which is reasonable, up to, like I said, $30 a month. Some people are charging more. And I think, to be honest with you, the companies have just used this as a way to make extra money.
Wow.
Because there's no way that with all of the different companies and processors in this industry that there should be such a cost variance.
Wow. That's amazing. All right, Mark, so how do people contact you?
They can email us at integritymerchantpartners@gmail.com. They can also check out our website that we use to show what all we do at imp.site. .now.site. So it's imp.now.site.
All right, Mark, good stuff. Thank you very much.
Hey, I appreciate you guys.
Again, that was Mark Bandy from Integrity Merchant Partners. Let's get some final thoughts from you guys on this changing world. It seems kind of like there's a new normal that might be happening with e-commerce. Jess, what do you think?
I know we definitely need our boutiques and our small businesses and our people that are not online, because in our area we have tourists and they come down to look in those places. So you definitely want to make sure you don't just close everything just to do e-commerce, but to open up that e-commerce. That is a new normal. Things are changing. You do need that e-commerce store. I think that is going to engage you with the rest of the country. And then there is also, because of our community and the way the world is right now, there's lots of people who work from home, who stay home. They like, even when they're working, they have multiple screens up and they might be shopping. So if they can do that from the comforts of their home, it's extra sales that you get. And after this pandemic, you just want to keep it going.
Chris, what are you thinking?
Yeah, building off what Jess just said, you think about it this way, right? So you're a beach town like we are, right? And you get a lot of vacationers come down. You sell shirts that say Sunset Beach or Charlotte or whatever it may be, right? You're a vacationer, you get home, you're like, oh, darn, I should have bought another one of those shirts. Well, isn't it great if you have a website and someone could go to that website and purchase that shirt and have it sent right to their front door? So it's everything from that type of experience to just really being able to offer your products to the world, to the country, to your greater community, and to people down the street without them even having to leave their house. How can you beat that?
Absolutely. All right. That is today's e-commerce mastermind from the Brunswick County Chamber. Thank you for joining us. Special thanks to Jessica Gallant, the Chamber's membership director, who also has her own e-commerce business. Jess, again, how do they reach you?
They can reach me right through the Chamber, jgallant at brunswickcountychamber.org.
All right. And Chris Crockett of Sellworthy, which is making this live stream happen. Chris, how do people reach you?
Sellworthy.com, KMC at sellworthy.com, and call text 910-600-6181.
All right, perfect. And don't forget, Thursdays at noon, we have another Living Brunsco about what is happening in the business community around this coronavirus. We have some good info that we are preparing for you right now. Again, thanks for joining us here. I'm John Daly. Stay safe.